Welcome back, everybody, to It's Just Bodybuilding, episode 83. And on today's show, we got a guest. We got Dusty's tissue guy, Dom Pelosi. He's going to drop by for a chat. And then, of course, we have Instagram questions with Dusty and I on It's Just Bodybuilding. What's going on, my friend?
Living the dream. Just off day of training, as you know, which gets me a little sad, but on the road, playing in different gyms, having fun, you know?
Yeah. First of all, different shirt. I assume that...
different shirt means someone else gets some love. And this is...
Let's see. I didn't quite see. You want to get Transcend Company. Okay. So
yes.
Tell people what that is.
So Transcend Company is a clinic. So TRT. All the good stuff is on there, and also we have some, what do you call them? All the PRP or the random magic joint shit, all that you guys love.
PRP and all that stuff. Yeah.
And then, but these guys, they do your test, all that good stuff. Women, men, sexual things, all the above. They don't do the sexual things.
What sort of sexual things
do
they
enhance
do?
Your sexual
what
things.
packages are there available?
There are packages. Be careful. Women need creams and men need pills. We've got them all. But the primary use for all of my guys is I have a lot of guys that come in, and of course, they're complaining of injuries, lack of libido, lack of energy, lack of anything. I'm like, and
what do you mean? Of course, I know. Like I have lack of libido.
Because you know the people who come your way and say, Ron,
okay.
How do I be?
I thought you were getting personal. I thought you were getting personal.
How do I have vitality like you, Ron?
Right.
And you're like, what? But see, in the old days, you'd be like, well, come back and meet me behind this parking lot, and I'm going to give you some shit made in the bathtub. It's illegal.
Right.
Instead,
the car involved.
Yeah, now it's real simple. They go to transcendcompany.com.
Okay.
There's literally a button, doctor review. They come take your blood, tell you what you need. And wouldn't you know, I save you $20 if you say Dusty20 when you check out.
There you go.
But the nice thing is, truthfully, that I like, bluntly, is unlike a lot of TRT clinics, they're not clipping people. So, an average person, let's hypothetically say that there were illegal drugs on the street. It might cost you, say, $50 to $65 to get a bottle test. Now you can legally get it for $75 and fly with it and travel with it and start a script. And by the way, they're going to fuck you up. You know what I mean? We're keeping you safe. Yeah. So awesome company, all kidding aside. They got great products. So we met over a month ago and just I wanted to see the companies actually use the products, make sure that I was happy with the legitimacy of it. And we actually signed everything up last week, our agreement, because I'm going to start using all of my supplements will be from them now.
So none of your stuff has like a wizard on the label or anything like that anymore.
Yeah, it's crazy. I asked them, like, what you're actually getting. So I can pick this up at like a Walgreens. That's different.
Yeah, cool.
So it's definitely good though, because all kidding aside, it's the one part of bodybuilding that I've always thought is funny is you've got a bunch of athletes that in some ways are borderline criminals technically. Yeah, and we can avoid all that. And the big thing is right now I hammer my clients for blood work. And what sucks is the very first question they ask me is, okay, what do I get on the blood work?
Yeah.
Now I can literally send them in. They go to transcendcompany.com, type in the information, and it'll tell them. Like, they literally get the blood work done. There's a discount on the blood work, too.
Yeah.
Get that out, and then you're on the phone with the doctor telling you, okay, instead of just, I'm sure you have a client to just send you the blood work, and they're like, I don't know what this says.
Right.
They do all that for us.
Yeah.
Here's where it's off. Here's what you need to get fixed. Here's natural supplements you can use. Here's things we offer we can use, and now you're healthy. So I'll be doing a lot of Q&As on the individual products. I'm actually going back to school now, technically, with them, because as you know, a lot of the joint repair stuff that you've used and those things that I never really tried, the issue I had with not getting into those was half of them were fake.
Right, sourcing and quality and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, it's a big problem.
The guys who use the good stuff would be like, "Oh, it's so great." Then you talk to someone else like, "Did nothing," Right. So this way, it's all legit, and they run through them. Those things. What's nice, some of them you don't even need the script for. Some of them you do. So
they're doing all the peptides as well. You mean? Yeah.
Every peptide you can think of, we have.
Yeah. That's cool.
So,
Okay.
but like I said, I actually have to get more educated on because I've always ignored them for that same reason. I'm like,
yeah, like the BPC 500 and or the BPC 157 and the TB 500.
Yeah, like the only one I know are those two because they've helped people I've put them on. But outside of that, and the problem was the only place I knew to get them disappeared because they weren't.
Right.
So thankfully that exists. So I'm stoked to get that rolling for people. And then when I'm posting stuff, the nice deal is you don't have, other than this, there's not gonna be like a discount code or anything. You just follow the link and it'll take care of it. So good for everybody. It's more, I'm trying to clean it up a bit. We've got too many guys have come to me recently with infections or underdose shit or whatever. Or, hey, I'm going out of town for a week. What do I do? And I'm like, you're off.
I had a client who was like 8 weeks into a cycle, and then he finally told me, he's like, I feel like garbage on this cycle, man. And his weight wasn't moving up, and he just didn't seem to feel good. And I was like, maybe your gear's all shit.
Right.
Like maybe all these problems are just like gear related, you know? And then he switched his brand to gear and feels way better.
Right.
And I'm not even sure it was dosing. It was at quality.
Well, yeah, because it could be a too high BA in there.
You know what I mean?
Like
He just felt like garbage.
What it is. The cheap shit, they're trying to avoid infection, so they'll load you with, BA and stuff like that. And it's like, that'll make sure of that. But now you've got redness and swelling on the site. You're getting the flu symptoms. Yeah, this just takes all that away. Plus, my big thing, honestly, is you know what you're getting. Because I always hate that. I feel like some of the issues with some of the dosing we see is because guys think they're taking 200 milligrams per milliliter, and they're not. It's less.
Yeah. So some of the crazy doses we think we're seeing too they're not actually taking that much shit, right? Like,
they think they're taking that much per the label. But
yeah.
and that might be why everyone calls me a liar, because I'm using legitimate test for so long that when you're in the off season, TRT 200 milligrams is a lot. You're like,
that's what Dorian said. Do you remember when that muscular development article came out where Dorian gave his actual contest cycles? And people didn't believe him. Everyone just instantly called him a liar. And he's like, wait a minute, guys. This is actually what I was taking. But remember, I was getting all European amps. Like, everything was 100% legitimate 80s quality, 90s quality.
Yeah. Well, I didn't touch the stuff that was that good. That's
Like, so, I remember his cycle was 400 test and like, I don't know, it was like 300 primo and then like some tabs on top of that with a bit of Winstrol or something. Like, that's Olympia, him winning the Olympia.
Right.
And people are like, bullshit. And he's like, this was all like unbelievably good stuff, guys. Like, you're missing my point here. These are the real doses.
Most people realize too, like when you think of when I first started and the first time I ever got to use D-ball, it was ridiculous.
I mean, I
was in a decade because it's garbage. Every time I get some, I'm like, well, that's a Tic Tac. That's cool.
Oh, well, I remember real D-ball, so I know good D-ball when I take it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, within days, you're like, oh, shit.
Something's going on.
Yeah.
So remember, I got to tell everybody, I got to two things. I got to say, like, share, subscribe, hit the bell. Ring the bell, leave a comment. And secondly, you've got a little white string on your arm on that black shirt. It's driving me crazy. I can't stop staring at it, dude. I know that you would feel the same. Yeah. See?
Don't move it. You want me to get rid of it?
Man.
We should play a thing where every time I'm on the show, I just next week it's a red string.
I'm just staring at it.
That's good. I feel good about that because that's some shit that would drive me crazy. Like, hey, I need to stop talking until you fix that.
Yeah. And then I'm thinking, I wonder if we'd get anyone in the comments who'd say that white string is just staring at me.
They were going to, but they've already left the show because you didn't say it. By the way, everyone, that's a friend thing that you just did. You ever see that? Like, I see somebody with like something hanging on their nose or on their teeth. I'm like, hey, bro, you got fucking booger hanging out of your nose or something. Yeah. If you don't do that, you're not a friend.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not embarrassing you one-on-one. I'm making sure that 10,000 people don't see you with that shit hanging out of your face.
Try to help each other out. Be better people. So are we bringing Dom on or what's going on?
I think it's time. I think we bring Dom on and hear where he came from and why he left.
So
with little old me for Flex Lewis.
So Dusty's bringing on a friend of his, and I'll let him lead this interview. I do not know Dom, but I'm assuming if he's associated with Dusty, There's some very entertaining qualities about him.
Yeah, I think he's okay. Not too bad. We've had some fun. Yeah, bring him in.
Guys.
Dom, what up?
How are you?
We're fantastic. Well, welcome to It's Just Bodybuilding. Now that you're on the show instead of just watching, he actually listens to our show.
Oh, amazing. Hello, good to meet you, Dom. Ron Partlow here.
It's great to be here. Thank you so much for having me. What's funny about that is a lot of these big name bodybuilding clients, open bodybuilders, I'll go to their houses, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, and they actually have you guys on YouTube while we're working. And it's funny. And it's not like they knew, they already had it on, right? So I think a lot more people are watching than you guys think.
Oh, that's crazy. Me and Dusty still can't believe anyone listens.
Yeah, my mom tried to watch one episode and she bailed immediately. She's like, "This is terrible."
Yeah, our close friends tell us it's garbage.
Either way, it's an honor to be here because it does have influence in our industry, and you guys provide a lot of information. In general, it's known to be like unfiltered and by experience, right? Both of you are kind of known for being just beast and out of experience. I think you can almost help other people tap into that,
Well, that's awesome to know. And I got to say, I love the shirt. I love the Dragon's Lair shirt.
That's it. Dragon's Lair, Vegas, grand opening on the 28th, everybody.
Yeah. Are you going to go up and hang out there or what's going on?
Yeah. Free demos all day for my side. That I've been fortunate enough to be an independent contractor in there, servicing the members and my clientele there. For me, it was great because, obviously going home to home it's a lot easier being at one location. And like with Arsenal equipment, I mean, everything is Arsenal and Strive. It really makes a big difference in the product I can deliver with what I do.
Cool.
So we got to get a rundown, Dom. What I was thinking is kind of a brief from the top, how you started with me forcing you to stop training people and do this instead. And then kind of where you are now and how you kind of got there and who you're working with. I kind of want everybody to get a feel, and then what the equipment does, because I get a lot of people when I put that last post up. It's why I decided to do this, because they were like, "Oh, what is that?" And I'm like, "Oh, fuck, I don't know."
Ron,
so do your thing.
It took 40 minutes to explain it too, and he's still right. It's more complicated than you think, but in general, I want to say 5-6 years ago. I started working with Dusty. Like my relationship actually goes back with Dusty for 17 years now. 2004, I walked into a supplement shop Dusty owned, and he sold me some protein. I mean, I went in there for literally a multivitamin. Okay, like I heard this was a cool.
Got him.
He upsold you. He upsold you to the 70-pound tub.
Care. Super draw, God knows what I had. But either way, I got the full rundown. He gave me an idea of it. I walked in and there's this monstrosity of a person eating a piece of chicken off of his fork, right? You know what I mean? And
Classy.
So it definitely made, sorry about that, my dog hit it. It definitely made an impact on me. And as a trainer going through the industry, I'd recommend all my clients. Anyway, I was a trainer at a gym in Scottsdale where we live. And Dusty was there working out. He'd be filming. It was kind of not long after he first turned pro. Here, hold on 1 second, guys. Hey, my dogs are hilarious.
They all do that. Ours do it too. You're good.
They all jump in.
That being said, Dusty was working out there. He just turned pro, and he just looked, kind of getting ready for a show. I think he had some things in mind, some big things, and it was just when like YouTube was getting really big. And Instagram was getting really big. And I think he saw me stretching somebody in the corner. And it was just one of my clients that were lazy, right? Like I didn't want to give up the session. They couldn't work out. So we're doing some like fascia stretch therapy stuff and some things I got certified a little earlier in my career. And Dusty comes by and he's like, "Hey, I need that." And I'm like, "Oh man, like you're too big. I don't think, I mean, that's a lot of work, right?" And so we just kind of joked about it for months. And then one day he grabbed me. He's like, "Hey, like I do want to use your services, like to try it out." So I take him through a stretch, and he liked it, whatever. And I was like, "Man, that's so hard. Like it doesn't really move the same way." And I ended up getting. No, I swear to God, the first pro bodybuilder I've ever really like known and worked on. I'm from Honolulu, Hawaii, and the guy who brought me up is Chris Fouad. and he's one of the biggest guys, the Hawaiian Hurricane. But keep in mind, he turned pro at 167.5. So where I'm from, big is not Dusty big, right? At the time, he was pushing like 270, 285, and that was big for him at the time. And I think he got to like 310, 315 or something. Like while I was working with him, it was insane. He broke one of my tables. I mean, they are like lying down on it. You just hear this crack. So anyway, I bought a special table for Dusty, and because of his needs, I ended up acquiring other tools and certifications, and basically acquiring knowledge to help my friend. And in return, just me working with Dusty really kind of, I guess, like created a line of people trying to get these services. And, at first it was pretty cookie cutter. Oh, your hips are tight, your ankles are tight. And then they'd book another one. And within a couple of days, a lot of times they kind of just would like come back just the same. And from there, it's like this, it was actually really difficult on my body. And, through learning more, you acquire better tools, and all of a sudden things start kind of sorting out. And then before you know it, I remember Dusty telling me, like, what do you want to work on today? I'm like, well, what hurts? He's like, nothing. And I'm like, man, this is like 6 months of one thing after the other, right, Ronnie? And anyway, it's like, so we kind of like looked at some stuff, and we're like, man, I think Dusty's like, I think you actually like can do like good, what I mean? And so slowly but surely, I stopped being a trainer, and I got more into the body work, got more certs, and I ended up with some technology that is becoming really popular, but I found my own way to use it for therapy needs and mobility and rehabilitation. In the end, it's a tool. Basically, it's bioelectricity. Everything runs on electricity. So these biostems and will actually create a very similar signal to what your brain is pushing out. Say you're trying to do some biceps, and that's a signal, right? So like it actually amplifies that signal. And of course, the first idea we get is, wow, I can really get bigger on that, right? And that's the majority, right? Everybody's blowing everything out, right? You know what I mean? And it's like people are sore, we're pissing blood after workouts, right? But it really does unlock the muscle. It's amazing for movement and training. But so what I do is I run that current through ISTM tools, and in combination with different modalities. Obviously, my stretch therapy background, and then as a corrective exercise trainer, everyone kind of has a prescription. So, with this current, you can make things stronger, you can make things longer, you can tone things down, you can tone things up. So there's a lot of cool things you can do with it. In fact, we're still kind of learning what its capabilities are. In the end, it became a little more of a need for things, and I started targeting pro bodybuilders, especially ones that were beat up, and like I knew they had problems. They'd worked with everybody, right? Kind of like Dusty, I was like, man, if I can do it on him, this is going to be legit. And again, you level up. You got to learn more to fix more, and eventually I ended up with Flex Lewis, and just happened to be at the same time he was Open the Dragon's Lair. And they thought it'd be a good modality to add to their physical therapist, their chiropractor, trying to create a little bit more of a one-stop and a hub for our industry to come in, get fixed, get better, win their shows, win their day, whatever, right? So
you're in Scottsdale, but you're going to go up to Vegas like part-time, or how is that going to work for you?
Actually, I've been splitting time for a while. I'm very blessed to have a strong clientele in Arizona and to work around some of these opportunities. In fact, most of my clients are ecstatic. And, I think honestly, it's going to double just being on this podcast, by the way. I think you guys know how much it's really done. But anyway, so I split time, and I've been splitting time for 6-7 months anyway. You know what I mean? I worked with Hidetada and a couple of the other Olympians getting ready for that show, and in the end they sent me a lot of their people, and their people sent me a lot, so I really had a strong following there anyway. It was a blessing to have a place to, I guess, continue my work there without being interrupted by having to drive.
Cool. What are some of the, I guess, thinking of bodybuilders, obviously because of the theme of the show, but what are some of the most common things that you think can do the most good that we should be doing that are easy? Like what are some of the things that we could be doing a lot of prevention with?
Well, so understanding dysfunction and imbalances, that's again kind of like a frequency in the signal, and it can be actually hacked and reset in a lot of different ways. But like the most simplest that we're supposed to be doing anyway, eating good food, drinking tons of water. I mean, flushing out the toxins that we're creating from training, and in the end, just getting better sleep, right? So it's just the basics. Like anything else on this show, there's no big secret to it, right? Like if you do the things you're supposed to do. Unfortunately, we're in an industry where, having cheat meals is great now, and all these crazy supplements are out there, and you got a lot of different supplements running through the system, and some of them are toxic, some of them are being prescribed and set up in a way where our bodies are not able to get rid of those toxins in that lymph. So, your wrist sends a signal. When your wrist is messed up, your shoulder gets messed up, your tummy, your digestive system, your lymph system, when that stuff gets backed up, the signals are quantified. So now you get this person who's actually creating more issues as they're trying to work out and get in shape, right? It's very counterproductive, I think, to the general idea of bodybuilding training.
So the number one thing is, I love that answer because you didn't try to sell me something that you do. you said, first of all, none of you assholes would need me if you would just take better care of yourselves. That's what I heard.
Well, what's funny about it though, Ron, is, and it's true, a lot of guys have done it, where, especially with orals, they start taking an oral, then their appetite goes away.
Right.
And they're like, oh, I'm struggling to eat. And I'm like, well, what changed? Oh, I took an oral. Well, then stop the oral, because as much as that would have an impact if the food was still there,
yeah,
it's not. And, a big thing that I wanted to push that was funny. So when I finally broke and like started pushing Dom to work on me like twice a week, early on, I kept having an adductor issue, where it would pull or nearly tear every leg day.
Right.
So I would go to the gym, and you've been there, Ron, where you go and you're like, just please don't get hurt today. Like that became my leg day process. Like, just don't get hurt. Like nothing fun, nothing crazy. And what it comes down to, it kind of with your question was, if I would have worked on mobility earlier in my career as I was starting to get big, none of this would have happened. After Dom worked on me for a little bit, he goes, oh, it's your ankle. I'm like, no, it's my adductor. He's like, no, it's your ankle that's causing all that. So ankle, adductor, hip, just work its way up.
Yeah.
And once he and another PT I work with kind of jumped in and worked on that together, once that was fixed, then Dom could work up my body and start fixing what had now been damaged because of the ankle.
It's funny. I was talking the other day about my collection of injuries. And almost everything that's ever happened to me has been on my left side. Right. And I'm thinking back, how far back do I go before I see like an injury and it was when I played football in high school. I rolled my left ankle super bad. Like it turned purple and black, but I just taped it up and played the rest of the season because I was fucking hardcore linebacker. Right. And started every game, just played through it with a black ankle, didn't fucking just pop some ephedrine and went, right? And I think back and I'm like, I wonder if that left ankle injury, because that ankle was never the same. And then, that's the knee that went, that's the hip that hurt, and that's the shoulder, and that's the lat that I fucking had problems with. And that's I always wonder.
Well, funny you say that. I did the same thing, broke my finger in high school, and I taped it together, and now it doesn't work, right? You see, we all have something like that that's like awful. Like, I mean, think about it, right? That said, that ankle, now your foot kind of stops working or works differently, at least.
It works.
Right?
It's that ankle's never been the same as the other one.
And don't get me wrong, like that's something that you can actually live with. A freak show like Dusty actually is so connected and in tune. He figured some of that stuff out, and he just kind of shift. We all do it. Shift to the left. First thing I'm talking to Flex one of those days, and And this happens with a lot of my clients, right? But Flex was kind of funny. I laughed because he goes, my cue is I lean to the left. I go, what do you mean your cue? He's like, well, everything I kind of have to lean to the left. That's just to be like good. I'm like, man, this guy just kind of leans. But understand what is happening there. You're doing that, but it's probably not working right. And most likely it isn't working right at all. You're using something else to do that. And now we're creating compensation. So don't get me wrong, everybody has compensation, right? I've seen people destroy classes completely dysfunctional, but for some reason it just works for them. So I think for the average person, though, when there's enough dysfunction, enough things off, it creates a little bit more of a stressful environment. You take a couple other factors that is just life, relationships, your animals. I mean, for me, my animals are ruining my life right now. But, there's a lot you travel, right? Like different things create different factors, and now your body goes into overload. So in neurotherapy and the biostem and the electric world, we reference to the nervous system quite a bit. So, your wrist impinges, your shoulder impinges, your hips, your ankle kind of swells up after you hit something. That's a sympathetic signal. And in terms of what we know, that's fight or flight, right? So in a fight or flight system, everything is going to be poorly compensated. You wonder why you sleep on your hands like this every night, right? Because your shoulder is so weak. Now your body's trying to kick your hand out of it. Now from that, your scap gets really long, and then they're talking to Dusty, I can't keep my traps down, right? Like when they're posing, right? Yeah. So Dusty, actually figured a lot of this out while I was figuring it out, and it was absolutely imperative to my career and where I am now, my understanding and what makes me an effective therapist to understand like prescription. And I actually didn't really understand it as much as I thought. Dusty tied that together with me, and I kind of tied the kinesiology together, and all of a sudden we had a system. You know what I mean? What's amazing is he's been able to take that same knowledge, look at one of my clients I sent him with a X amount of imbalances, right? And he can actually already train them. I'll look at their workouts, and it's actually already geared for them to be successful. You know what I mean? I just give them the extra. If there's something really weird, you know what I mean? Like, hey man, there's like he has a thing that's this much longer, and I gave him this to do this, right? But either way, it's really cool when the trainers and the therapy and the supplements and everything kind of rolls together, because then my job gets easier as a body worker, and I don't have the same impingement to fix every week, 3 times a week, and this client freaking out, right, trying to come to me in pain, right?
So you mentioned something earlier. You said how Flex Lewis told you he was like purposely leaning to the left so it felt right.
Yeah. So
I think I understand what he means. So a lot of times, like I ruptured my quad tendon once. That was a few years ago. And I've had lots of injuries as a bodybuilder.
Oh, savage.
When I put my feet on the platform, for instance, I have to make sure they're visually straight, because they don't feel straight. They feel crooked, but they look straight. So if I video my form, it looks perfect, but it doesn't feel straight. And if I do it so it feels straight, my feet aren't even. Is that ever going to go away? Or am I always going to have to train to make the reps look proper, even though they feel weird?
So that's it could go away. It depends how important it is to you, right? Like, right. I mean, manual without the technology.
I mean, it's gotten better. It's gotten better, obviously. But I'm just wondering if it'll.
You put some work in your hip, you put some work in your foot, you put this. But again, you still have that signal going to that ankle. And every time you put your foot on the gas pedal, or every time you go to sleep, really, I think when you're subconscious, that's when your body goes back into that protective piece. Now, you've actually learned your way around it to kind of settle into it, and crooked is straight, and that's what everybody talks about, and I remember a video when the New Fit, the newbie New Fit is one of the machines I use, real popular. Brad Rowe.
Right, we should mention that. Yeah, we've had Brad on talk about the newbie. Yeah,
everybody knows about the newbie. It's awesome, you know what I mean? And it's really nice for bodybuilders, because the bodybuilding is almost like, I hate to say it, but it's inflamed. You know what I mean? It's inflammation, and that's what fills in. And that's right. So that being said, in this case, X amount of inflammation is good. It's just bad when it builds up. But the New Fit it creates you can run it at a certain frequency and it creates a blowout. I mean, a visual blowout. It's amazing. But on the other side of that, Ron, is reprogramming that signal. So now we have a pad, like an electrode on something. Say I'm trying to get this to work. This and another pad will coordinate. And if you run it in the right frequency, your brain's going to pick up on it. It's a loud enough machine, strong enough, right? It runs at a ridiculous hertz at a very specific layered signal. And when it's layered like that, again, your chest, your hip, for your example, your ankle, it's not going to be able to know whether that's a machine or your brain. Only difference between this, we're operating at 50 times the brain's potential with some of this equipment. You know what I mean? So I think in the end, it's you can kind of see the value right away, right? It kind of locks things in. And for us in bodybuilding, we call that the mind-muscle connection. And
Right.
you've learned how to pull your lats out. You've learned how to do things. But how hard did you have to work at that, right? You know what I mean? So the average person probably ain't going to put in the time. I mean, let's be real, right? You know, and that being said, going back to bodybuilding, the general population, most people fail in the gym because it's not really worth it for their energy. The harder they work, the worse it gets until they hire somebody who actually, you know what I mean? So now their cortisol is high, cortisol, insulin. We all know what happens when you cut out alcohol and sugar, you drop. Cortisol is just as equally as effective as that, right? So you know, me and Dusty, we trying to control both, usher in a new era.
Yeah, I try to keep his alcohol ingestion as low as possible too.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
You know what's funny though is Ron. When I just saw Dom, I coincidentally he got a new machine I hadn't used yet, and I was like, hey, I want to. He mentioned that he could fix my digestion and start working on my sleep, but I walked in and I had a trap that was just locked, which happens to me a lot, same spot all the time. And it's usually a very long process, a couple weeks of getting worked on and stuff, just because it'll get released, but then my body squeezes back in, especially if you're under stress, like you said, cortisol. So he put the new machine on the trap and on my back, but then also on the pec. And I'm, of course, sitting there like, what are we doing? And Dom kind of explained the relationship, because that's what you're just going into, on why you had to hit both sides to get my body to let go on the trap side.
Yeah.
So what were we doing with that?
Well, with that being said, first thing I did with Dusty the other day was, Dusty's my hardest critic. I'm just going to be very clear on that. Hardest critic, mostly because, you know, he's been my coach. He's been a very close mentor of mine. But at the same time, like, I went in with a little bit more of a game plan, and knowing Dusty's habits, being around him for so long, I know he doesn't sleep. I know he's trains way too hard, right? And he's doing a lot of therapy, which is releasing toxins into his system. So first thing I did was kicked his nervous system down and got it from that fight or flight into like more of a rest and feed. From there, half the trap and everything kind of let go. And he has a torn pec on that side, so I just took a kind of a gander and, all right, well, I think the trap is compensating from that pec not working and him trying to do some shoulders and stuff, right? Whatever, you know. And anyway, so I knocked that back and kind of reset where his wrist should be, and he was golden, you know. The resets are really cool. NewFit developed quite a bit of a system, and when I say a system, they have a very like foolproof system where it allows any practitioner to be effective, right? But like anything else, it's a tool, so it only amplifies kind of what you know, right? So there's people that use it and it probably doesn't do the person any good in the long run, right? But that being said, though, like if you follow the system, it's all about relationship and the nervous system. So, you know, they give us the information, they give us the tools, they give us the basic protocols, and from there, you know, it's up to us to accelerate that. And because I was a successful body worker and I had people like Dusty helping me, you know, we got Dusty pretty much on point as much as we could manually. I mean, no neuro, no nothing, which is very difficult to do. The PT he sees, you know, is someone that actually, I'm telling you, the guy's a freak show. But not, you know, what I find is a lot of my highest ending clients, my biggest names, they have very similar nervous systems. Like their stuff is adapting. They're feeling a little too much. The ones that go real far and work their way back, they actually feel a little bit more. It's like a blind person. I can hear better, right? You know what I mean? So it's they give me a lot of weird feedback, which actually allows me to develop the system further. Little things I'm working on now that I got to show you, Dusty. I got a great sleep apnea acceleration. So I'll take that machine and run the current through a glove and kind of open up the nasal passages, a lot of inflammation, down up in here. And sometimes it's vestibular, it's through the ears. So you can use that current to clear out those pieces. From there, you open up the diaphragm, clean up the longissimus, teach them how to breathe under a parasympathetic current, which is like a rest and feed. And then voila, you might not need your sleep app anymore, right? There's like little things like that you can actually stack. And almost when you stack modalities, now we're like stacking progression. All we have to do is make sure the person's nervous system is able to take it. And I know it sounds crazy, but it's all a signal, right? If you understand anything is a signal, allergies is a signal, MS is a signal. So the new fit right now is being in the process, and they're calling it the cure to MS. So with that kind of fibromyalgia, MS, Hashimoto's, these are not uncommon things that we're dealing with as trainers. And to be able to know they can receive a couple treatments a week for $100-$150, now they can actually be successful in our programs. We don't have to work around everything. So that's the beautiful thing about the new fit and other similar products, like like the other machine that I run. But now it puts it into our hands where we can now assist people in more than just fitness. But to be successful at fitness, you have to be healthy first and foremost.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to do, Ron. It's kind of the reason I wanted to bring Dom on in particular is obviously if you're anywhere near Arizona, I only send people to Dom and I only send people to my PT Jason, and that's it. Like, those are my guys. But what I try to drive home for trainers is there's always this fear of sending money to someone else because, oh, what if there's a limit? But I find if my athletes are healthy and functional, what I do works better. They don't get injured, or if they do, they bounce back faster, and they're a long-term client. Plus, I just can't lie, their results are better because I'm putting them in the hands of people who do things I can't do. I always think it's a very short-sighted industry we have where it's like they're afraid to let anyone go. And like
Right.
Dom or Jason will tell you, I follow up after their sessions, or they'll contact me and I'm like, okay, do I need to change anything with their training? Because I don't know the depth of what's going on other than I'm like, hey, Dom, this guy's shoulder's fucked. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I saw a video I didn't like that it was tracking. Can you run him through? Then he comes back and says, hey, leave the training alone, but I'm having him add this. Okay. Well, next thing you know,
cool.
when that guy is doing better, you know who the hero is? Me. And that's why I
How
think
does
it's
that
so
work?
funny. Like, I did nothing but direct you to the smarter person. And that's what I feel like people like trainers miss, though, is they're so afraid to bring anyone in. Like, I joke, it's like I have a team. Like, the reason I couple up with the right people, the right supplement companies, the right hormone companies, because at the end of the day, that makes my product better. And that's why I wish more people do. So wherever you guys live in the world or the country, that's what you should be thinking is, okay, my career would be over if it wasn't for Dom. I couldn't train legs. And now I joke about it, but people don't realize I'm stronger than I've ever been and more healthy at 39 than I was at 29. It's like, I don't walk into the gym wondering if I'm going to hurt. I walk in the gym wondering what records I'm going to break that day. Like, it's a fucking game now, So that's kind of the value. So Dom, how do people get a hold of you if they want more info? Or I do know it's a little tricky, but you know enough of the guys, if they can contact you to see who in their area they should see, even if they do the same as you, what's the best way to get in touch with you on that route?
Well, I do run a lot on Instagram. IG's been really nice for me, and it's funny that I never really believed in it. I still don't put enough into it, but Dusty made me get one at one point to help me get from Scottsdale to God knows wherever I've been, right? And but you can get a hold of me through IG. I'm at the Dragon's Lair Wednesday through Saturday every week, and that's an easy way to find me as well. I got stuff on their IG they can link through, and
That's
available.
awesome that you're there.
Oh my God, Ron, you have no idea. And it kind of happened by accident. I was just helping Flex with some stuff, and we're working through some things, and he's like, man, are there other people? How many other people do what you do? I'm like, man, actually, I do what I do, and it's kind of my own deal, right? And he's like, well, like, and they started asking questions about the machine, and I know they wanted that service available to the client. Flex and Allie, his wife, they're very adamant on building a culture, right? And creating a place where you can get the best of the best, right? And that's kind of what, you know, Flex and the team, Neil Hill, Yoda, the Y3T, they're trying to go the champion's champion. I mean, it's another level, right? So I'm like, man, I want in on that, like, for sure. Like, I'll do it. And they're like, well, we need a full time. I'm like, well, what's full time? They're like, maybe 2 days a week. I'm like, I'll give you 4, just because of how many people are going to be rolling through there, right? And just a chance I can prove the system, and you know, like, going back to Dusty real quick, and some of the things he was saying, he was you know, he looks at it like a game. Sometimes I use a dynamometer. Basically, it measures force and PSI, so you can run it on certain strength tests and figure out what muscle's weak. And, you know, it's part of that new fit system they teach us. Anyway, I'm going through this, and there's obviously a number, and Dusty's like, what's my score? I'm like, no, man, it's not about like a score. We're you win when we fix it, right? But, you know, like, so a lot of that, it can be like a game, and getting this even to that. And a lot of us who are successful in bodybuilding, we got hardcore OCD, sometimes like neurological stuff, right? We have to do this a certain way, and everything's set. I think what's so hard about what we're doing in the neuro world, it's not the normal, right? It's going to be the new school. It's definitely becoming more normal, especially with the elite in the sport. Everybody's tried it, right, at this point. And now it's just about understanding how to implement it for what we need. Some people need training. Some people need therapy. But, you know, with the trainers, that's how I even got all the experience. I marketed to the trainers, hey, free work, send me your clients. I fix them. You know, they do good. And Dusty's absolutely right. I don't get it. I don't get a lot of the credit, but I'm happy the trainer is making more money and doing better and making a better product. And thus, you know, in return, they get more clients and they send me more people. So I think that's how we're trying to make it work, even in the Dragons Lair, where, you know, everybody works together. We have a PT there, massage therapist, chiropractic, obviously neurotherapy, you know what I mean? Like, so we're going to try and work together to get this athlete to be their absolute best and perform their best and live their best, really, right? Obviously, it's available to regular people too. I worked on a dog yesterday, right? Like, you know, the current works on dogs too. So, I mean, I'll take care of your dog and your grandma. Make sure you get your pro card.
I freaking love it. Well, you know, I'd be sending the dogs before me.
Grand opening, okay?
What's the date on the grand opening again?
March 28th. It's which is cool because they're waiving day fees, and they're this is different from their other location where they actually have a membership, and weekends are big for day fees. A lot of people come in just to have be a part of that culture for the day, you know, and kind of like Gold's Gym Venice used to be, and make it a hub. You know, Jay Cutler's walking around saying hi to people. Flex Roden is there, right? It's crazy. Everybody's in there, and but yeah, March 28th, they're waiving fees, letting everybody come in. Well, I hope, actually, I think they're waiving day fees.
They are now.
Let me double check, right? Okay, all right.
Well, I'm not going to pay because I'm going for sure, and I already talked to Flex, so we're good. Well, Dom, man, I appreciate you jumping in here and kind of giving us a background on it, and we'll make sure to siphon anyone your way that hits us up that can't figure it out. But and that's it, man. Appreciate you coming in.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, guys. You guys have a good one.
Thanks, Don. Good to meet you.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Thanks for watching another podcast here at Think Big Bodybuilding Media. And thank you to our great sponsor, TrueNutrition.com, for making this all possible. TrueNutrition.com is owned by Dante Trudell, the creator of DC Training. He wanted to create a supplement company that offered high-quality, third-party tested supplements at a fair price. High-quality protein powders, just about every type you could think of. Huge variety of flavors, plus health and performance supplements. Check them out, TrueNutrition.com. And hey, if you use our code ADVICES, you directly support our podcasting. Thanks, guys. Let's get back to the program.
So, Ron, we got to rotate, dude, because I got questions. I don't know if you even did that, but I did.
I did. I threw one up, and I purposely threw it up really late.
Oh, good.
Because I couldn't handle the volume last week or last time I did it. So I'm checking now. Craziness. Okay. So, yeah. I still got a lot of them.
Good.
Okay. You go first.
I was just sending a tweet. Jesus. Why you gotta act like we're on the show live?
Okay, here's one, Dusty.
Go ahead.
Here's one. And I'm not going to give any context or meaning because they didn't.
Oh, fuck.
They just asked the question.
I'm ready.
Start a business or buy a house?
Ooh, well, buying a house is a business, number one.
See? Right? If you're going to rent it out, it is a business.
So tricky there. Right now, I would buy a house.
There you go.
You're near me, for sure. The rates are low. The market is ridiculous. Just understand you're going to pay a premium, especially if you're in Arizona. But yeah, I would buy a fucking house for sure.
And put a renter in it. Is that what you mean?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, you could buy and live in it yourself too. But I mean, there were multiple times in my life that I rented and owned houses that I didn't live in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
or you move into it and you keep the house you have if you already have one, and you move into it and you rent out the one you don't want.
I've never been stable enough to like. I've only lived in a house I owned once. I like to bounce around too much.
Right.
So I was like, well, I don't own this one, but I own that one.
Okay. You go.
I like more of those kind of questions. Okay.
I would do that too. I already have 2 businesses. I don't need a third. And unless I don't have to do anything and the other people are going to run it.
Ooh, I like this one. God, we got good questions today. Would Milos have been better if he had trained like Dorian, in your opinion? Oh, that's a good fucking question.
Yeah, it's impossible to say. I mean, like, what are they trying to say? Milos didn't train like hard enough, or I don't know what they're trying to say. Just
I think
style of training. Like Milos, let's be fair. Whatever you know Milos for, and whatever you think Milos does, I guarantee Milos tried everything.
Yeah, what I also was going to say is what Milos has created post-career.
Yeah, it's not exactly what he did.
He was doing exactly. And I'm not saying that he made it up falsely or maybe he caused the end of his career. I mean, look at you, things that you have realized when you retired, and realizing that had you known some of the things you know now, you would have altered the way overall your training would have stayed the same, but there would have been some tweaks that would have kept less injuries and may have resulted in better results.
Like, I don't train my clients exactly how I trained when I was young and growing. The principles are definitely very much intact.
Mm-hmm.
But there's certain things, certain exercises, certain ways of doing exercises, certain positions I don't utilize.
Right.
Certain, you know what I mean? I'm like, you know what? That was a mistake. I went too hard on that fucking position and it, wrecked my fucking elbow or something. You know what I mean? I have a few things, but yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, Milos fucking tried everything, man. You can't say he didn't try training heavy. I'm sure he squatted Milos probably squatted 600 pounds in his day for reps. I mean, it's not like
I think what also people forget, or shouldn't you say forget, but don't realize is Dorian is Dorian, regardless. And I can say this from training with him. People look at me and are just like, they shake their head at the intensity and whatever. And I can tell you it pales in comparison. I trained with him retired. And when I got done with the workout, my first thought was, he's a nasty motherfucker. And my second thought was, and this is the retired version.
Right.
What was he when he got ready for the Olympia? Like, and I couldn't even put it to words, but standing there, I just realized like, and I'm more intense now than I was then, but I can pretty much blindly say as much as I focus, Jordan, there's certain people that literally have a level that like, my point is I couldn't put together what Dorian did in the same workout that he did, even now, even with the focus, the intensity, and the connection I have. I think Milos maximized his physique, and plus, look at him. It's just a different body. Like, he was nuts.
Different in every possible way.
Loved his look overall. But I did think it was a good question because people ask it all the time, or people like, I look at that when somebody goes, man, Ben Pekulski needs to figure out how to get his back big. I'm like, Oh, you think he doesn't know that his back is lagging compared
he's
to retarded
meticulously studied every possible fiber that you could have in your back and how to make it fire and contract, and how to load it and how to stretch it. And
trust me, I've tried everything. I mean, and I do the same with clients or even friends where I'll reach out and say, hey, I know you got this like weakness, like Jonathan that just won the Nationals, the overall. His back is his weakness, and I watched his videos the other day training, and they were very meticulous, very whatever. And I said, hey, you ever thought about just getting fucking wild and just pulling weight and seeing what happens? And he was like, I'm like, and he said he'd done some things in the past, like some heavy deads and stuff like that. So he's going to come out for a week, and we're going to just try some shit and send him home. But same thing, it might not do shit. Maybe his back is just a stubborn body part. But point being is here he goes, just like that. You got a guy who won the overall. His second show won the overall at Nationals. His legs are some of the best in the pros right now.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, how do I figure out this back?
Well, think of it this way. I remember seeing that video of Ben Pekulski deficit deadlifting 7 plates for reps. Right? Deficit, like this much of a fucking deficit. 3-inch deficit pulling it was 6 or 7 plates for reps.
Yeah.
So okay, check heavy deadlifts, heavy insane deadlifts, check. And then also, 200-pound dumbbell rows, okay, check. And now also the pinky twisting cable pull downs.
Yeah,
check.
Anything you could think of,
He did everything. The weird stand back from the hammer to get that contraction where the strength curve changes versus using the machine the way they made it. He did everything. Yeah. So sometimes genetics are the barrier. People need to realize that, when you see a guy with an amazing physique and a weak body part, it's not that he's not aware. Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah. Plus, I think the other thing that's a factor, and then we can move on, is physiques are physiques. Like, there has not been a Dorian since Dorian. And what I mean is, and I know you guys are watching this now don't understand this, but I know from talking to Aceto and things, I told him the last Olympia, I said, man, I think Nasser had that. He goes, you weren't there.
Yeah, I know. Aceto's not the only person that said that to me. I've had a few people that are like, yeah, watching the video again, Nasser really should have won in 97. And I'm like, fair enough. Yeah. I watched the video too.
Yep.
I watched the video too. Fair enough. But then there's a handful of people that were at that Olympia.
Yeah. Chris told me, he said, whatever you've ever seen, even the great stuff that you've seen in a picture or in a video, it does not. He told me, he goes, it was not close.
So did you see Fouad interview Levrone last week?
I didn't see it. No.
Yeah. So it was pretty good. I've interviewed myself, right, for the Mutant Show. I had him at the FIBO booth. It's on YouTube if you guys want to watch me interview Kevin Levrone.
Kevin's my favorite bodybuilder of all time, but go ahead.
Kevin Levrone from FIBO, Mutant Live. You can search it on YouTube. Great interview. But anyways, Fouad had him on, and even he, when they came around the time to talk about Dorian, there was this moment where Kevin goes, oh, well, I mean, Dorian was just so unbelievable.
That's from Kevin,
and he just left it at that. Like he just moved on. He's like, yeah, but Dorian was just he was just so, and then he started talking about how he thought he had Ronnie in 02,
Yeah.
So Levrone's not saying that with Dorian. He's saying that with Ronnie. But then when it comes to them talking about Dorian, he's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's just the drop of that. That was like Ronnie after he got after 02, when it was close. Do you remember when they did that? I'll never forget the backstage when they're interviewing Dexter Jackson, Triple H. He goes, man, all I'm saying is I'm getting second. And Triple H goes, second? And he literally looks right in the camera and he goes, that's fucking Ronnie Coleman. like, yes, second, which is winning for the rest of us.
That's funny. That's
knock
funny.
Knock it off. Oh, that's good shit. You're up.
One of my favorite Dexter Jackson quotes is from a video that he filmed in 2008 before he won the Olympia. Now, my memory is very solid on that, but if someone remembers and I happen to be wrong on the date, please correct me. But this is how I remember it. He's training at the gym and they're filming him. and he's talking about how anybody can win the Olympia. Now you got to remember, Jay was a current champion at that point.
Yeah, he won
right?
twice.
Jay would have been a 2-time champion at that point. So that's where we are in time. And this is the year Dexter actually wins.
Yeah.
And Dexter says in the video, he goes, I made a career out of catching people when they're off because I know what I'm good at. And then he goes, and times have changed. He goes, there ain't no more runaways. This ain't the Ronnie Coleman days. Right? He's like, anybody can win. No more runaways. No more 8 times. Like, that's what he's saying, right?
Yeah.
No more runaways. This ain't the Ronnie Coleman days. And then he fucking won that year. And I remember I always just thought, like, fuck. That was a great quote.
And he won exactly the way he said.
I made a career catching people when they're off.
Yep. It's just so, and he did 29 times.
Jesus. So here's one. I don't know how much we want to talk about this, but either one of you have one regret about your bodybuilding careers. What would it be?
Mine is simple. Jumps to mind immediately. If I could go back and something I'm working on with clients, I would not have been in such a rush to grow. I got as big as possible, as fast as possible through food primarily. And I know we were going to fight that. But if you look back at the pictures I put up before gear and then even after gear, when I was like getting ready for Emerald Cup the first time, my midsection was better than it is now. Hip structure is hip structure. But because of the way I forced food down to get as big as possible, as fast as possible, when everything else got bigger, I should have had a much more dramatic X frame than I do now, but my midsection got bigger right in conjunction. And it was not the training. I trained that way back then. That's how I made a name. I mean, that's how I got my first coach to knock half the money off us because I trained like an idiot and he loved it. But it was that I was in a rush. It was how fast can I get to 300 pounds? And as much as you could. I used to get heavy because I didn't give a shit. Like, it's fine, just get big. So now I pace guys. I'll literally slow them down and they're like, oh, we're slowing down. Like, we're gonna hang out. You're gonna pay me and we're gonna hang out. And then when things start tightening up and you actually start to get tighter on this diet, we're gonna go up again. So yeah, my regret would be that it's a long game. I'm 39 now and completely healthy and could keep going. And had I taken 2 more years to get to that point, I think my bodybuilding career, as far as competitively, would be in a better place than it ever was.
Right. I think my mistake was in like the first 10 years I was training, I was very close-minded.
Okay.
Like, I'm lucky that I was locked in on a bunch of stuff that was really good, like progressive training. And, you know, I picked a good role model to follow Dorian and his drive and all that stuff. But I wasn't like open to like any variety or any variation. Like if someone said, hey, do you want to train back today? I go, yeah, okay, I'm doing these, and these. And if they go, oh, do you want to do these? I'd go, no. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like, and now that I'm older and, you know, I'm working with so many clients now and I see the bigger picture, you know, I was just a little bit I was almost too serious about certain things when, you know, training is a bit more of an adventure. There's a little bit of a philosophical side to it too, that, you know, you have to explore the space a little bit. And, you know, I was just such a, like, I thought that was going to get me there faster. And
right.
And like I said too, I tried to get through a lot of walls just by smashing my head against them instead of like maybe just step back and look for a door, you know? So that's what I guess I would say, you know.
That's perfect.
Okay.
Da-da-da.
Your turn.
God, I get asked this every week, so I'm just going to throw it in here. When are we going to have a live porn star on It's Just Bodybuilding, as opposed to a dead one, apparently?
Oh, God. I dealt with that question a couple weeks ago on my Instagram. I was like, you know, I'm at a point in my life where I'm not quite sure what type of show I want to have. Do we want to have?
We might need a separate show if we're gonna, which I've actually considered doing. I thought it'd be fun to do a show where we literally brought in people that were just successful in all areas, because it is fun and that's stuff that I like to watch. But I just laugh at how often it's asked. I get it every week. When are you gonna have a porn star on? I'm like,
I know. And then some of the people that watch the show, they know that I've like been to the AVN, so like, well, can you just call one? And I'm like, well, you have to understand, like, also too, you're dealing with like a lot of very unreliable people.
Valid.
It's like bodybuilding times 100.
Yeah, I know the few that we could reach out to that would come through, but
that's
also then you're also dealing with people with crazy schedules. Like, hey, do you want to come do a show that'll have no benefit for you, but we'll have a lot of fun? Yeah,
it's not going to bring them any. It's not going to make them any money.
This will give you nothing, but I would really appreciate it. I will sign up for your OnlyFans 2 months straight if you do this for me.
Right.
They're like, you're already a member. Oh.
You're not supposed to be able to see my credit card.
How did you know that? Let's see here. Boom, boom, boom. No.
Dusty with the question. Let's go, Dusty.
Is there anything you wish you would have known before getting your first car?
Oh. Yeah. That it was going to be terrible in the winter.
Did you get a truck without four-wheel drive or something?
No, my first car was a Beetle.
Ah.
It's a Volkswagen Beetle.
Is it rear-wheel drive?
No, front wheel. Is it rear wheel? Oh. Yeah, it might be rear wheel. It's rear wheel. Yeah, it is.
Okay, I was just trying to figure out.
Yeah. No, it's rear wheel. It's got the engine. It's got that little engine in the back. It's rear wheel. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways, I bought it because I was like, these are fucking cool. It's like a kind of an old. Cause I got a little bit of hippie in me, right? Like a little bit of like, rock and roll. Yeah, a little bit of like, buck the system, be different, that type of thing. And I thought, I'm gonna get a fucking Volkswagen Beetle as my first car. What the fuck? That'd be funny,
Right.
Big dude. I was a linebacker at that point, lifting weights, driving a Volkswagen Beetle. It actually was like pretty fun to drive. That's another thing too. It was like a really fun car to drive. You know,
it's a go-kart.
and I mean, that was back in 93. So it was a 79. So it wasn't really that old. It was only like 14 years old. It's a 79 Beetle. So it was in really good shape and it ran well. But I don't know why nobody pulled me aside and said, dude, you live in northern Alberta. Like, wintertime's going to suck in this fucking car. I don't know why nobody fucking pulled me aside and told me that. Nobody said a word. Everyone just allowed me to buy a Beetle. And then wintertime came and I was like, holy fuck, this car's cold. Little tiny gas heater in it that barely put out. Like, it was an adventure. Oh, yeah. You're driving with gloves on. Got my toque pulled down, driving with gloves on. Yeah.
I was thinking about this is how not Canada I am. I'm like, it didn't drive well in the snow. You're like, it was fucking cold.
Well, yeah, like, so let's say it's minus 25 out. Like, you could die outside, like minus 25 Celsius, which is, you can't imagine it's colder than you've ever experienced. And then it's like, minus 15 in the car. So it's still like, you're like,
you still have the wind. That's the only difference.
And then what would happen is if I got in the car after my workout, the windows would steam up and freeze. So I'd have to get the scraper and scrape the ice off the inside of the windows before I could drive home from the gym. So I'd have to let my car heat up enough and scrape off all the ice, and then it would melt, and it was like water running down the doors, and I'd have to scrape all the windows and then drive home. Fucking nuts.
That was your life. Oh, man.
Drove it for like 1 year, and I was like, I'm getting a pickup.
We're rotating.
Yeah.
Yes, I do not. This is terrible. I do not have any good stories for my first car. My first car was bought for me when I was 14, and it was waiting for me when I turned 16. So,
what was it?
I got a 1966 Mustang convertible. It was one of those deals where it was a cool story, though. I always wanted one, and I was out of town on a hockey trip, and my dad, people used to read the paper back then, just so you know. I don't know if kids listen to this even know what that is. But he saw an ad just cruising through that said 1966 Ford convertible for sale. My dad was like, Ford, that has to be a Mustang. And so he's like, oh, fuck, it's down the street. He goes and looks at it, and it was 66, and the lady's husband had bought it in Arizona, and then 3 years later died, and it had been sitting in her garage all the way until I was 14. What was that, 1995? And my dad was like, well, what do you want for it? And she was like, I don't know, 12,000. And he was like, give me 5 minutes. And he called my mom, and she's like, go to the bank, get $12,000. So
what was it worth? 20, 30?
I sold it for over 30.
Yeah.
Yeah. So literally they had to tow it because everything plastic or rubber was rotted. So they just picked it up, towed it directly to the Mustang shop down the street. They fixed everything. And then when I came home that weekend, it was in the garage, and I'm like, okay, awesome. But I'm 14, and my dad was like, yeah, you could not have afforded to buy this car any other way. So there's your first car. And,
right.
But then what was crazy is as the years passed by and I finally got to 16, it wasn't a sensible thing to drive every day. So I got a different vehicle to drive all the time. And then that became the down payment for my first house, was that car.
Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah. It became one of those things where it was kind of like, I don't have enough money to have a car that sits in the garage I don't own.
Yeah.
So we're going to use it. But now, of course, in hindsight, I'm like, God, what I would do to have that car.
What color was it?
It was actually red, but it's called poppy seed red, so it's almost orangish.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Then it had a white top on it, which was never up because it's Arizona. Which is, of course, also funny in hindsight because I don't like convertibles anymore. I don't really get convertibles. It's not my thing.
I don't think I'd ever buy a convertible. I don't even really like the sunlight on my face.
Yeah, I don't. It's funny. Like I have a sunroof and I never use it.
Again,
I'm fascinated with the
I've
window.
done very well during quarantine.
Exactly. I don't like to go out, and I noticed there were less people out during quarantine, which is great.
Yeah.
You're up.
Okay. I know we probably talked about this, but I'm sure there's a few stories it could be. What was the first thing you remember that blew your mind in the gym that you actually saw?
I don't know if it was the first thing I saw, but it was the first thing I saw as a bodybuilder. I was getting ready for a show, my very first one, had no idea what I was doing. And this guy, Sean, was getting ready for the show too. And I was a kid, and I was just surviving the prep. I didn't think I was doing anything. But I remember seeing this guy, and he never talked to anybody. And I just watched his face keep sinking and sinking as the show got closer. And then one day he had to weigh in, and I'm stretching, and he stripped all the way down because he needed to make weight. And I just remember, this is the first time in my life seeing a real bodybuilder. Like, he was like 5'6", and he literally weighed in at 224.5 for heavyweights. And I just remember seeing that and realizing what bodybuilding was. I think that was probably the moment I realized I wanted to do it, though, because I remember seeing him, but I also more than anything remembered looking at people's reactions, and they hated it. Like, you just see almost disgust, because the dude's standing there in his underwear and he's nasty, and
you're looking at how much they hated, and you're going, I like that you hate
I want to be that. Like, literally, that's what I was like, that
you hate this.
Yeah, it just, you could see it. I'm like, I want to be that. Because I remember thinking, like, that's freaky shit. I want to do that.
Funny.
But which was cool because I met him at the show, and I've never been like a fanboy person, but I was like, hey, I don't know shit about what I'm doing here, but this is fucking, you're nuts. It's awesome. And when I turned pro, he actually reached out to me on one of the social media things, and it blew my mind that he even remembered. Because I was like 19 years old, and you know what I mean?
Well, your name's easy to remember, unless you coach like 200 people.
Dirt, you know what I mean? So, but no, it was pretty cool because he reached out, and he's like, well, you took it further than I did. And I'm like, huh. But you know what's crazy? I'd like to look back and see what he really looked like. Because there's a few guys who, when I was a kid, I remember thinking like, holy shit.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I would tell people like, dude, that guy in his prime was nuts. And then I'll see pictures now of back then. I'm like, oh, he was okay.
I know. Time does that.
What about you?
So I remember, when I started training, my first year at the gym, I was wearing the tank tops and, we were in there training. I was a kid, we're muscling up, the kids I trained with wore tank tops, we're in there wearing tank tops, Yeah, we're training and having fun, and I'm training really hard. And I'm out training a lot of my peers. I notice they're having fun more than I'm having fun, but I'm also okay, on this next set, I'm going to get 8 or I'm going to fucking be upset. I had these little bit different mentality. So we're training away, and there was only a couple guys that trained like me. So we sort of gravitated towards each other. And then one day, these 2 fucking dudes show up at our gym. And you gotta remember, it's not a big town. There's only 30,000 people in this town.
Right.
And it's northern. We're isolated, 5-hour drive to the next city. Right. Mm-hmm. And it's Grand Prairie, Alberta, for those of you that don't know. And these 2 fucking guys roll up, and I'm standing at the window. And like I said about the frost, the inside of the gym would be very humid because everyone's sweating and working hard, and they got the heat cranked. And outside is minus 30, death. Right. 4 feet of snow. The plow's just gone by. It's just fucking chaos, right? And this little Firefly pulls up. Little Pontiac Firefly. If you don't remember a Firefly, it's a 3-cylinder car.
Right.
Right? And these 2 fucking big dudes, 250 pounds each, get out of this Firefly. And they got work boots, giant baggy pants, huge winter jackets, the big long 3/4 winter jackets that go down to your knee.
Right.
Big, huge, army issue, winter jackets, toques. They fucking get out, big gym bags. They're huge. And they walk across, they come into the gym, and I see them at the front, and they sign up. And I'm like, who the fuck are these guys? And I guess they were training at the other gym in town. Mm-hmm. And I just had never seen them before. And they were just switching gyms for a change. Right. And they came over and joined our gym. And I remember they come in, they take their jackets off. They got all the Gators gym gear, right? Gators gym.
Of course.
Gators shit, the Flex It gym pants, the big baggy genie pants that everyone had, the MC Hammer style. Fucking walk over, no talking. Throw their belts down at the squat rack. Immediately just start grabbing plates and stacking them by the rack. Bang. Bang. Not even putting them on the bar yet, just taking plates.
Yeah, these are ours.
These are our plates, right? And they lined up 5 plates aside on the floor.
You're thinking, what do they do with that?
And I was like, oh shit, are these guys going to squat 5 plates aside? Because I'd only seen a couple of the older power lifter guys do singles with 500 to 600 pounds, right?
Right.
I'd seen guys squat heavy, chalk on their back, everyone yelling. We'd already had that in the gym, but we hadn't had this. And these guys throw the bar up, and they get under the bar, and the one guy's got long blonde hair and a ponytail, so he kind of looks like a pro wrestler.
Right.
And the other guy's got long brown hair.
Right.
And so they kind of look like the Barbarian Brothers, his Canadian version of the Barbarian Brothers. He got work boots on.
I guarantee you they knew who they were.
Yeah, and they're fucking and yeah, they definitely knew who the Barbarian Brothers were, right? These guys were different, and they were totally covered, right? There's no showing anything.
Yeah.
And they started squatting 1 plate, 2 plate, 3 plate, 4 plate, 5 plate. The knee wraps go on, 5 plates goes on. They squat 5 plates for sets. And I'm just like, who the fuck are these 2 monsters, right? And then they show up at the gym, the very next day, and they go to the bench, and it's the same thing. Throw the belt down, start stacking plates, right? And I'm like, these guys run the gym. They've been here this is their second workout here, and they run the gym.
This is theirs now.
This is their gym. They just came and took the gym. These are the kings of the gym. That's what I thought. That's how I viewed them. And, of course, me being me, I'm fucking right in there.
Of course.
Hey, where are you guys from? What's going on? You guys fucking train hard. What's going on? Hey, I like the Gators gym shirt, And next thing you know, the one guy actually lived out of town, so he was only in town occasionally to train with that other dude. But the guy with the brown hair was there all the time.
Right.
And he eventually comes over to me one day, and he's like, hey, you want to squat with me on Monday? And I was like, yes, I do. Let's do. Anyways, I remember. So their names, the blonde guy, his name was Kevin Jones.
Right.
And he wound up becoming a school teacher.
Of course.
And I don't know where he is or what he's doing, but he's a great guy. And then the other guy's name is Eric LaRue, and he's still a good friend of mine. I still talk to him. He still trains.
And hopefully hears the story.
Yeah, it'd be funny if Eric heard this story. But I just remember, like, at the time, like, those were the two guys that, like, changed the gym, because, like, they brought, like, that Gators gym, wear the hoodie, like, you know, like that's
They were
like
the guys.
Yeah. And then, of course, that was like the style at that point, like the early 90s, everything went to that. It wasn't about tank tops and stuff. It was about fucking hoodies and, you know, training with work boots on and like that whole thing, you know?
I love that though, man. Like, it's funny because I wear sleeveless and stuff because of Instagram. I would like, I like to train. I mean, because I always did with JJ when I first started, and it's comfortable. I like to be warm in the gym. I would train in long pants and long sleeve shirt and a hat every day. Like,
so you want to know why I wear sleeveless shirts now when I train?
Why is that?
Because, God damn it, I trained a long time. I didn't show anything off ever.
You spent your entire career covered.
Spent my entire fucking career covered in the gym, basically. And now I'm old and retired, and I'm in good shape. So fuck it. I'm wearing some sleeveless shirts.
I like it.
I used to never show my arms because I was like, oh, my arms aren't big enough. I got to get bigger arms. You know, my triceps are kind of flat and my biceps aren't really huge. I got to cover my arms. I cover my arms all my whole life. And now I'm like, fuck, I'm retired. Who gives a shit? I'm lean. Let's go.
I'm lean and it's hot in here. Fuck it.
Yeah.
I freaking love that. See, I like when you have like a real story like that, because I'm like, I could see that happening. I remember being in the gym and knowing who the guy was. And I've actually been to gyms now. I won't say the gym, but I had told someone there was a lot of bodybuilders in this particular gym, but they're all kind of dickheads. And I was like, well, yeah, because they don't have the guy. Every gym needs the guy, and then it's handled. So when you have a bunch of like middle guys, like that all they want to be that person, but they're not, it's a problem. Right. And then, you know, Kevin Levrone walks in, you're like, oh, never mind. It's his.
Yeah.
This is your gym.
And here's a note.
And it's their gym because they never care about it being their gym.
Here's a note for everyone out there who maybe wants to be the guy. Right? Yeah. All you people out there that want to be the biggest guy in the gym or the best bodybuilder at the gym, here's a bit of advice for you. Set a fucking example. Put your weights away. Clean your shit. Be respectful. Don't hog shit. Don't stand in people's way. Don't, like, you know what I mean?
Don't be an asshole.
Because that's another part about being the guy at the gym is you don't realize, like, that stuff will make people just dismiss you.
Oh, for sure. And on the reverse, when you do it correctly, it's the reason that where I am, and I'm lucky, but that I have free membership at
you can train wherever you want
gym in town, because they know nothing bad comes if I'm there, and some good shit. Because I also, you know, Lance will tell you he's giving me the nod at muscle packing, but I'll stop people from leaving and be like, hey, you finished that leg press? Like, yeah, I'm going to take your shit off.
You know, help out. If you want to be treated like the guy at the gym, then help out the gym. Be a good example. You know. But yeah, man, those were the days. I vividly remember those days. You know, that fucking gym was cold, man. That gym, like, it would be minus 30 outside. People open the front door to come in. There's no two doors. It was just like the door opens and this like cloud of ice crystals will just spill across the floor of the gym, and like this, like, it's steam, and like it's just crazy every time someone came in.
There's Ron and his stringer.
Yeah.
That's when you know you're a true Canadian. I'd have been in there 7 jackets, freezing. Right. All right, so I got a good one, and I'm giving this right to you because I know it's gonna be fantastic. Where did it go? I want to say it the way she said it. Okay. Most adventurous thing you've done on a date, Ron? Preferably legal.
Oh, I just had a facial and my teeth whitened.
You got to be careful when you say first date. You had a face. Like, I want you to
right. True.
Pause on what you say. Think about how I will twist it, and
it was
then
for comedy. It was for comedy. Most adventurous thing I've ever done on a date. Damn. I mean, well.
I said keep it legal. And we're not having porn stars next week, so.
Does butt sex count?
No, it absolutely doesn't count because everyone does that. On a first date, too.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
she didn't see first date, so we're good.
Come on,
yeah,
let's be honest here.
Good. We're not talking about slicking back anyone's hair here, Ron. We're good.
Mean, yeah. Dusty, the things you say that other people don't catch. Oh, goodness. Vivid visual.
I'm just throwing your brain. He's like, where am I?
Oh, yes. That's another story.
For a different time. Okay. Geez, I don't know. To me, it's pretty adventurous to go to a restaurant I've never been to. I mean, we're going to order.
We're rolling the dice. Like, I had to look at the menu. It was like we were out on a limb. Yeah, no, I like I said, if butt sex doesn't count, I don't know where we go from here.
I don't even want to play this game. Oh God. Okay, so
maybe agreeing to go to a movie without knowing what movie it is.
What's sad is you're painting a picture of both of us right now.
Again, we have control issues.
Yeah, this is not good. What if it's a shitty movie?
Yeah.
What if she tries to talk to you during the movie? This could be
can't imagine. I actually can't imagine, as a bodybuilder, I can't imagine someone saying, hey, I'm going to take you on a date, but I'm not telling you where we're going or what we're doing, but you have to agree to it. It'd be like, fuck.
Sure. This isn't going to work. I think this relationship is over.
How many meals am I going to need?
I'm at least going to need a timeline for sure. And will there be a microwave or should I?
Yeah, we need timeline. We need microwave availability. We need, yes, there's
snack breaks.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Is there going to be a temperature change, a large temperature differential? Do I need a hoodie or a jacket?
See, I ask those important questions. You're like, do I have to wear my nice track pants or can I just wear my normal ones?
Right. My dress jeans or just my regular jeans?
There will never be jeans. That's not happening. Yeah. I'm not going there. No. Okay. So
what about you? Maybe I'll recall something.
So this is adventurous.
This was a first date.
No, it's just a date.
Oh, I was thinking first date for some reason. I don't know why. I
probably said that. I probably said that.
Oh, okay. That's why I was so stumped. Jeez, I mean, I've done stuff, Dusty.
You're all easy. No, this is any date. So my adventurous, which this is not going to go anywhere near what anyone would think, but which I may have told the story, so I'm going to make it quick. I got a knee surgery, just a scope. And then the next day when I got home, a couple girls from school called me. They're like, oh, hey, how are you? I'm like, I'm good. And they were like, hey, what'd the doc say as far as your recovery? And I said, well, they said I could do what I wanted, just kind of go on how I felt. And she's like, oh, okay. Well, Zariah and I are going to go take a hike up the mountain. Do you want to come? And I'm like, 2 in 1? Fucking right, I want to come. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. So we hike up this mountain, and when we get to the top, we stop to eat. I made sure there were snacks. And next thing I know, my knee starts swelling like a baseball.
Oh, yeah.
And then blood starts coming out of the stitches, right? And so I was like, oh, shit, this isn't good. So we finished the sandwiches. They were good, foot long. And they were out there panicking a little bit. I'm like, that's fine. The guy told me I could do whatever, you know.
Yeah, I'll just get home and rest it.
I'm just going to need to get down this mountain. My leg won't bend now. So now I'm like hobbling down the mountain. I get down to the car and I call the doc. I'm like, hey, doc, there's something wrong with my knee. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, it's swelled up and it's bleeding like through the bandage and down my leg. And he was like, holy shit, what'd you do? And I said, what? Nothing. I was like, I went for a hike. And he's like, what? And I said, I went for a hike. He goes, what do you mean you went for a hike? I said, these girls called and asked me if I want to go for a hike, and you said I could just go based on pain. It didn't hurt that bad. He goes, fuck, get down here. Why would you go on a goddamn hike?
That's hilarious.
By the time I got down, he was so pissed. I'm like, you should guide someone like me better than do what you want.
Yeah, there should be stickers. So I'm estimating that there was a point in your childhood when you could have been identified as one of those kids.
For sure.
And you should have had a sticker put on your head or something.
The helmet that I was wearing all the time.
Right. Just do not tell this guy to use his own judgment.
Yeah,
like
do what you like. Okay.
This child does not play well by his own rules.
Well, that's the problem because I had moved out, so I lived on my own.
Yeah.
So they're just telling this to me. There's no adults to talk to. It was just me. Same thing that happens now.
Oh man.
Yeah, that was. I call that adventurous though because number one, I hate hiking. I was just asked to hike today, and I said, "Fuck no." And
don't do that to yourself. Jeez.
No. So is there gonna be a motorized vehicle? You're up, dude.
I'm up.
And you had some good ones, so I need some greatness here. Oh God, I have a great one next. This one's
do you?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm trying to decide.
This guy says, before bodybuilding, I got a lot of my body tattooed. Am I wasting my time thinking about competing?
No, especially now. LSR, is he in Canada?
I don't know.
LSR Canada specifically, but everywhere.
Liquid
Their tattoo,
separates.
yeah, their tattoo cover-up is ridiculous. A lot of people ask that about my tattoos because they're like, "Oh, so you're done now?" I'm like, "No." Their cover-up, they have one on their website of a guy hitting a rear double, and then they did it, and he did it again.
That's
number
I think
one.
That
Different physique, like it's like because now you see why tattoos are a problem because you don't see shit. Then they put it on, and the depth and everything is there. The coloring is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I only use Liquid Sunrays ever. They've never sponsored me or anything. Their color is unreal, and that tattoo cover-up, now that I've seen it on multiple people, I've seen tattoo cover-up, but you can blatantly see it. Like, there's a tattoo under that. Or the color is wrong, so it still doesn't help them.
Yeah, I've had a few clients just have amazing work done in the last few years.
Yeah, well, you got you just tagged me. Doesn't he have his whole leg done?
Yeah, Morgan, that pump on Instagram. He's got his whole leg done, but in his stage shots, you can't even tell which leg he has covered.
Yeah, I mean, because I remember that. I remember when he competed a couple years ago with you or a year ago, whatever it was. And the whole time I was like, oh, this would be interesting. And then I saw the stage shots. I was like, holy shit. And his legs are ridiculous, which is great.
Yeah, he's got big quads. That was actually 2016 he did that show.
So give or take 5 years ago when I said maybe.
Crazy. Yeah, he was like 183. And right now, today, he's 250.
And he's not a fat 250 for anyone wondering. Yeah, that's
it's coming.
But yeah, no, his that was him and that back are the two reasons I don't even blink. Are you frozen? No, you blinked.
No, I'm not frozen. I just don't move. I'm preserving energy.
That was impressive. I was literally like, oh shit.
What are your predictions between Blessing and Nick Walker?
Okay, I'm going to tell you my prediction, but I have to first say I don't know Blessing at all.
Right.
But knowing Nick, I have a very hard time betting against him. And the reason is Nick is a bodybuilder. Like nothing else matters. Not like literally, not like he is what you should be to be a champion bodybuilder. It's funny, but I think I've met people, hell, someone like myself, where if they were going all in like Nick was, I'd be like, you need to figure out how you're going to survive life. You know what I mean?
Right.
Nick is all in all the time. And if someone said to me, well, shouldn't he be balancing himself out? I go, no, he shouldn't. He should go all in and fucking do this. And yeah, so I'm going with Nick. And again, that's not even physique. I just think that there's nothing that you could ask Nick to do he won't do to win.
Right. Yeah, I don't know Blessing at all either. He's a huge guy. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, he's humongous. It's going to be great to see them show down, I guess. You know what the funny thing is I don't even know why they have a thing.
I think they're smart. I think they did it themselves.
Oh, so you just think it's just them like, hey, let's just okay. Well, that makes sense.
And I don't even know if it's best of buds or not, but I think that they created it one way or another. And I think it's genius because now it's the talk of the show.
Or it somehow started and they both just let it go.
Yeah, they're like, fuck it, let's roll. But here's what's funny. How about this? I'm saying my decision between those two, and I don't think either one of them is going to win the New York Pro, and I don't know who's doing it.
Right. Okay. You said you had a good question next.
Yeah, well, it's great to me because this tells me who people are. Are you ready? You got to listen carefully. You have 3 choices: tacos and margaritas, beer and cheeseburgers, whiskey and steak. That's a good question.
Whiskey and steak.
Fucking so easy. I know.
Whiskey and steak. So here's my reasoning.
Love it.
Okay. I assume the whole idea is to have a good meal and get drunk.
Valid.
Right?
Yes.
That sounds like the point of the question. So tacos and margaritas, I'm not really a huge taco fan, so I'd rather eat something else. The beer and cheeseburgers, love the cheeseburgers. I don't know if I could get drunk on beer. I'd have like 2 beers and I'd be so bloated and burpy.
Right.
And I'd be like, I gotta go smoke some weed and lay down.
We're not getting there.
Because I actually had a beer the other night. I had 1 beer the other night. It tasted really good. It was a Pilsner. It was some Belgian beer my friend gave me. And I drank it real slow. I didn't quite finish it. I drank slow enough that it kind of got warm. It was tasty. I like the taste of an interesting beer, but man, I
yeah,
it really bloated me.
Yep.
And then whiskey. I'm not like a whiskey drinker, but if the point to drink is to get drunk, then pour me some straight booze and let me shoot it. Let's be effective here.
Why do 3 sets if you could do 1?
Right. Let's fucking go to failure on the first round. Pour a triple. Let's just fucking bam. Rest pause set. Boom. Right? I mean, that's how I think. I'm like, let's, just do it. Bring me a triple whiskey and a 12-ounce filet with a pile of fries next to it. And we could and I'll hit the drink first so it's in my system, and then I'm thoroughly entertaining for about the next 2 hours, and we can just enjoy our food.
See, and I like your thought process with that, because I did the same thing in reverse. I was like, well, I want steak, so what do I have to have?
Okay.
Because steak decided everything, and just like you, I'm like, I can do that. But it's funny because that is how I approach alcohol. I don't, other than wine, I don't
enjoy drinking food. Yeah, I don't give a shit.
Never, and even from wine is literally typically with some nice meal.
Right.
I've gotten into experiencing it, but if I'm drinking, it's a goal. The last time this is crazy, but the last time I drank, which is now years ago, was at a friend's wedding. I was the best man. He was obviously the groom. And I went up before it started to the bar, and I'm like, hey, I need just a couple tequilas. And the guy gave me a shot in normal glasses. I was like, bro, this one's for the groom, and I don't think this is a great decision. And he goes, oh. So he pours about 4 shots in it. And he goes, and you? And I go, and I'm letting him do it. So he poured about 5 shots in mine, and I'm like, thank you. Walked away. I was standing there like Mortal Kombat, the finish him moment.
Right.
While we were standing, I'm like, please don't fall. Please don't fall.
Yes. That was a good question. I like that. People can hit us with more of those.
Yeah, I'm a fan of those ones too, because I like how you worked it backwards. You have another one, or should I just hit you with one that I'm already looking at?
Yeah, hit me with one you're looking at. I got one for you.
Why do people say that energy drinks are bad for the body? Is it just the caffeine?
No, it's well, I mean, there's a bunch of other stuff in there too. I haven't read the label on an energy drink because I don't drink them. But I mean, what's in there? It's a huge dose of caffeine, probably higher than recommended. Most of them are at least 300 mgs per can, aren't they?
Yeah, I don't drink real ones either. I drink the bullshit Red Bulls.
The sugar freeze?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how much is in a Red Bull?
150.
And then some people hate taurine. So I know they bitch about the fact they put taurine in there.
I'm actually looking to make sure I'm accurate. Keep talking.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, you know what's...
I
lied. It's even less. 80.
Oh, fuck.
Like that's why you know why I drink these, because when
People
I used
bitch and complain too much.
we drank these all the time, and so now the flavor is like reminding me of that. It's funny because I had a friend go, "Those taste like shit." I'm like, "Yeah, I know." They just remind me of it, and it's nothing. I take these because in the morning I have headaches if I don't have a little caffeine because I have an addiction, obviously. Yeah. One of these makes sure I don't get a headache.
Right.
That's it. You know what? It's funny that was your answer. Because here's my thing. If you're hydrating, doing anything else right, people can shut their fucking mouths.
Yeah.
Like everyone has advice for everything. Do I drink energy drinks? No. Why? I don't like them.
Energy drinks are bad for you. I'm 45. I drank 100,000 cans of Diet Coke.
Exactly. It's the same way I look at a lot of things, and don't get me wrong, I don't downgrade. Like I do believe in thinking about your health and things, but sometimes people are ridiculous. Like, you really think that Splenda is a good idea? I'm like, do you know what I do for a living?
Yeah.
I think Splenda is going to be what takes me out. That's going to be the thing. Are you fucking serious?
My thing is, I'm like, well, listen, I also spent a large portion of my life, force feeding bags of Burger King down my throat to hit 300 pounds. So I don't think the Splenda is going to be the deal breaker.
Do you remember that movie, the Green Mile, where when he touched them, he could see all their sins and all the craziness? Like sometimes I wish I could do that. So when people are like, do you think that's a good idea? Let me show you something. Just give them my hand. I think we're
give them a view into the rest of your life, and they're like, "Oh, the Splenda's insignificant."
Yeah, have five. I'm like, "Thank you. Let's move the fuck along, shall we?"
Yes.
I take hikes the day after knee surgery. Do you think
people don't realize how much diet pop we drank in the 90s?
Oh God,
90s bodybuilders just there's a can in our hand, like the whole fucking time.
That I saw that a meme that said, "There's no greater addiction than someone who loves Diet Coke," and I'm like, "Yep." I remember I used to wake up, I had a fridge in my room. I would pop one before I brushed my teeth.
So another funny thing is, how Donald Trump drank a lot of Diet Coke, right?
Yeah.
So I just watched an interview with a guy that got to interview him.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just talking about how he interviewed him 3 times in the Oval Office. And he spent like several hours just in his presence, just observing him and watching him and just interviewing him. And he's like, yeah, he drank a lot of Diet Cokes, like all the time. As soon as we were done doing anything, he'd be like, give me a Diet Coke. Give me a Diet Coke.
Right.
It was just kind of funny. He's like, I never saw anybody drink so many Diet Cokes. And it just made me laugh.
We got time for one more?
I got one.
All right,
I don't know if we can answer this one or not. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. Who's the biggest male slut in pro bodybuilding, past or present? I saw you crack a smile there.
Well, I had like 7 names pop up.
So the top 5 at the 95 Olympia, just through your head or top whatever. Yeah, you're trying to. You're like, I don't know.
All right, now safely, you're right. I'm not touching this.
Yeah.
But I have to say, it would be a battle for sure. I think rather than break it down to that way, what I would like to do is have each of the ones that are my favorites share the craziest story. Because
I'm just going out on a limb. And I'm just gonna throw it out there that Cormier and the California boys from the mid '90s probably had a lot of fun.
Yeah, they had some good times for sure. For sure. You know what's crazy?
How did you get a $4,000 room service charge on your room, Chris?
Yeah,
put people up.
4 months. That's back before they checked and they just paid all that shit.
Oh, some great stories about that. Yeah.
Yeah, we're just gonna file that all under athletes and walk forward. Call it a day on that.
Yes. Okay. So you're not throwing anybody under the bus?
I can't. I mean, and you've been a child of God since I've known you, so we're good to go.
I have been. I've behaved myself.
True story, Emma.
Okay. It's your turn, right?
Yes. I do believe I have 1 or 2 more decent ones here.
Let's get one more from you.
All right. Let's see here. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, this one's for you, Ron. This is not a bodybuilding question. He always feels lonely, and he has no friends or girlfriends. Any help?
Join the gym?
Yeah, I'm like, This is on you. It's well above my pay grade. I don't really like a lot of friends.
Yeah. Well, to give actual, like, he's saying he's got no friends and he's lonely and he's doesn't know what to do. That's basically the question.
That's the question. Any help?
Well, if he hasn't joined a gym, join a gym for
Check.
physical and mental well-being, as well as starting the process of taking care of yourself, because nobody wants to be around somebody who doesn't take care of themselves.
True.
And that
Make
is
sure you shower.
like, well, yeah, there's that physical stuff, but also just like take care of yourself. Do it for yourself. You know, no one wants to spend any time around someone who's letting themselves go, and that's not just physically, but mentally letting themselves go. Developing bad habits and being lazy and all that shit. So I would say join a gym, get a hold of yourself. You got to clean yourself up. And you see that vicious takedown video that went around to that dude that was giving advice? And the one guy was like, I can't get women. And he was like, listen here. Is that really angry black guy? Did you see that video?
No.
And he's like, how tall are you? And the guy's like 5'10". He's like, what do you weigh? And the guy goes 285. He goes, so you're a fat fuck. And the guy goes, well, yeah, I'm a bit heavy. And he goes, you got a big dick? And the guy goes, oh, what? He goes, oh, come on. He goes, come on. You know if you got a big dick or not. And the guy's like, oh, well, I think I'm above average. He's like, okay, so you don't have a big dick. He's like, how much money do you make? And the guy goes, oh, I make like $800 every 2 weeks.
Oh, shit.
And he goes, oh, so you make like less than, like you make like 20 grand a year or whatever the fuck he did. He's like, so you make 20 grand a year. You don't have a big dick. You're a fat fuck. And he goes, you're 5'10", which is good, but that cancels out the rest of it. And he's like, and you wonder why you can't get women to pick you. And he's like, you have to get a hold of yourself. Like, what are you doing? You can't be, I don't know how old he was, but whatever age he was with making this much and expecting because the guy was like talking as if women were being mean to him. And he's like, you don't understand how it works. Did you see that study about the 80-20 rule?
No, but I've lived it. Go ahead.
So the funny thing is the top 20% of females, sorry, the top 80% of females
right
are competing for the top 20% of men, which means the bottom 80% of men are stuck with the bottom 20% of the women.
Right.
Because women are far more selective than men.
Well, that's obvious.
Yeah. Some people refuse to believe that. They're like, oh, no, we're equally selective. No. They say this. There's lots of research now that says that when a woman meets you, she looks for reasons to fuck you. So the default position is not fuck you.
Right.
She looks for reasons to fuck you. Whereas when a guy meets a girl, his default position is fucking her. And he looks for reasons not to fuck her.
He has to find a reason not to, because if not, he's in.
This is all not even comedy to these researchers that have looked at all this. And so it's really fascinating.
Is that it's real.
Yeah. So another thing, there's all sorts of crazy numbers now that we're seeing from how people are selective and how women actually have all of the selection choice. Women make all the real decisions when it comes to selection.
How does someone not know that? You'll love this. I have a gay client I used to train, and it was funny because he never told me, but I knew. And he was just a cool guy, right? So finally one day we're in the gym. I've been training for like 6 months. I'm like, hey, Dan. He's like, yeah. I'm like, did you fuck that guy? And he froze. He's like, what? And I'm like, I'm just asking, would you? He goes, how'd you know? I'm like, Dan, I don't give a shit. I was like, I just needed to break the ice in the most rough way possible because that's how I function. And he was like, all right. So down the line, we're talking one day and he goes, you guys got it all wrong. I said, what do you mean? He goes, you know what stops sex in a relationship? I said, what's that? He goes, a woman. That's what ends sex. He goes, we don't have that, so it's not in the way. He goes, so it's every single time.
That's
I was like, the logic was so clear. I'm like, Dan, this is why you're my boy.
We don't have the barrier.
We don't have the person of logic that's selective and cares. Yeah. He goes, we're just all right there. It's good.
That's
I'm
funny.
dying
That's
because it
funny.
was such an accurate statement. I'm like,
yeah.
it is.
So it's interesting to see that. There's also new numbers now that are kind of frightening about young people and sex.
Mm-hmm.
They're saying that 20% of the women are having all the sex. And they said it's only 20% of men are having all the sex with 80% of the women. That's what it is. So the 80-20 rule has been very, very consistent back and forth. So there's a lot of men right now. There's the highest number of young men ever that are not having any sex at all. So there's a huge number of men that are just pushed out of the sex market completely right now. And only very few top number of men are having sex with all the girls.
Well, that's not frightening at all if you're on the right list.
Right. But it's interesting, right? And they said it's these social media apps that the next generation is using, the selection process. That there's a handful of guys that are getting all the sex from all the girls, and everyone else is like just left out. Because when they do the whole, social media, it's not about meeting you.
Yeah.
Right. That you like before you get a chance to meet them and charm them, you're already out of the game. Because in the old days, in our day, Dusty, as long as you were funny.
Yeah. Which is why I'm funny online.
Yeah, exactly. Got to be really funny online to get through that barrier, right?
It's got to go further.
Comedy's got to pour
the
through.
Filters can't even fix me, so.
That's funny. Oh, man. Okay, bud. Is that it for today's episode?
That's it, man. It was solid. We had some good stuff when Ron came on, or when Dom came on. Then once he left, it went south from there. It's perfect.
Yeah, terrible. I would have quit as soon as he left as well. Okay, everybody. Remember, like, share, subscribe, comment, ring the little bell. We appreciate everything you guys do for us to help push the show along. Repost, all that sort of shit. Dusty, you got to give us really quickly before we go. He mentioned, I knew you hurt your chest, but you had a little tear in there. Is that what you had? Because I knew you had that shot in there.
Yep. So, yeah, we did prolotherapy in there. I was told to just leave it alone for about a week and a half. And now I'm just inching it back in. So Jason, my PT's got me doing 30% next week,
right? Okay.
The next, and just working our way up. But it's fine. It was actually in the muscle.
So it's a tear in the muscle.
Yeah. So it was never tendon. Tendons are all good there. Same with the knee. Everything was solid. It was just one of those things where every time I go to the gym, I'm like, okay, I'm good to go. And I'd start pushing and I'd feel it again. And I'm like, okay, I'm nervous.
Right.
And your immediate thought with PAC is tendon, especially over here. It was a little low, but I wanted to make sure. So that's going to speed up the process, and it's good. The only thing that sucks is I don't really like training chest, and all of a sudden I'm like, man, it'd be nice to throw some weight around all of a sudden. So.
Okay. Well,
yeah,
hey, that hamstring tear was healed within a month. I was like back on the bike and doing stiff legs with lightweight again. And okay, thanks, man.
No doubt. See you
Good
soon.
show. Thanks, everybody. Remember, it's just bodybuilding.